What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel. Today, I want to talk about a guy that I think the Bulls can 100% go after and sign in free agency, as free agency is right around the corner. I'm releasing this on June 29th. Free agency is June 30th, so we got to start talking about some potential free agents that the Bulls can go after this offseason. And today's video is about Isaiah Hartenstein. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about Isaiah Hartenstein, looking at his stats, kind of go over who the player he is, look over some film. As you can see, I have a lot of clips pulled up here, which is very short clips, kind of show you what type of player he is, and then really explain to you why I think this is a really good target for the Bulls, because I think the Clippers have very little chance, if any chance, of actually keeping Isaiah Hartenstein. Therefore, I think that he is very available for the Bulls to pick up this offseason. But before we get into it all, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Let's talk about who is Isaiah Hartenstein. Now, I hope I'm saying correctly. I mean, this looks like it's supposed to be Stein. I apologize if I'm saying it wrong, but Isaiah Hartenstein is the backup center for the LA Clippers this past season. Looking at his numbers, I would argue that this is a career year for him, mostly because the amount of games he played. He played 68 games, didn't start in any, but 8.3 points per game, which matches his career high, or not career high, excuse me. That is his career high. Rebounds were at 4.9, which is a little low, but you know, he was playing in a backup role, and also this is, again, the first time he really had a significant role on a team, right? And just overall, just look at his numbers. I really like this field goal percentage, especially his effective field goal percentage, which looks pretty solid as a center. But main thing I want to look at here is his per 36 numbers. His per 36 numbers look pretty solid. I mean, almost 17 points per game. You got 2.3 blocks per game, almost 10 rebounds, almost 5 assists, right? That looks really good for a guy that is going to be coming off the bench. And I think that this Isaiah Hartenstein perfectly fits on this Bulls team as coming off the bench and backing up Vucevic, as I think he could give this Bulls team a different look. I think he brings a lot of defense to this team. As you can see, 1.1 blocks per game, again, in limited minutes. So I really think he can come in and give this Bulls team a different look at the center position, because obviously we know Vucevic is defensively challenged, right? But Isaiah Hartenstein can come in and bring that defense, and he is definitely just more of an interior presence, right? Vucevic is definitely more on the exterior and outside, standing at the three-point line. Hartenstein can come in and be the roll man in the second unit, and I think he honestly fits pretty well next to DeMar DeRozan, who I expect to be leading the second unit next season. So just a quick overlook at his stats here. I showed you his per 36 numbers. Kind of look at the blocks. I said, 1.1 blocks per game. He had a total of 77 blocks this season. And again, in 68 games in limited minutes. So we're looking at the block leaders. Obviously, Jaren Jackson Jr. is at the very top here. But these are the block leaders for last season. And Ivica Zubac right here has 77 blocks. And as I said earlier, Hartenstein also had 77 blocks. So you're looking at a guy who's at the top of the league in blocks, like in total blocks, in basically only getting 18 minutes per game, and only playing 68 games. That's pretty solid for a guy that is coming off the bench, and he is making the most of his minutes. So that's really, really good to see. And I think, again, the Bulls can just bring him right in, and he'll fit in with this team very well. Looking at some of the, percentile stuff, one thing that jumps out to me is this: his offensive rebounding is top tier, and you're gonna, if you look up clips of him, you can definitely see that with Hartenstein. But another thing here is this rim defense, 95th percentile. That's something that the Bulls definitely need. So AK and Marc Eversley have already talked about bringing in rim protection. I think this is definitely one of those guys that can bring in rim protection. Now, one thing that AK and Marc Eversley have talked about is finding a guy that can fit alongside Vucevic. I don't think Hartenstein can play the 4 next to Vucevic. I don't think that is a possibility. However, the Clippers did last season kind of were willing to switch him onto some smaller guys, so maybe I'm wrong. But overall, I mean, if you just kind of look at who he defends, it's basically the centers. He defended a little bit the power forward position, but in the end, you want him basically defending the center position, as I think that is definitely where he is best. But I have seen Ty Lue, he is willing to kind of put him on the smaller guys like Cam Johnson or guys who play the power forward position. And Hartenstein did okay. I'm not saying he's great. I don't think he's great at all defending the perimeter, but he might be serviceable. And maybe Billy Donovan can unlock that side of him. But let's move into some clips here, as I want to kind of show you why I think Hartenstein really fits in with this team. I could talk about blocks, I could talk about points, and all the simple stuff when it comes to NBA big man, but there are a little bit of nuances that I want to show you and that explain why I think he really fits into Billy Donovan's scheme. First off, I want to show you some clips of him basically kind of handling the ball at the top of the key. How many times have we seen Vucevic at the top of the key kind of, handling the ball and being like kind of the center of the offense, right? And you have DeRozan and Levine coming off screens and handoffs, right? Hartenstein is very comfortable having the ball at the top of the key, even dribbling it around a little bit and then handing it off to some guys to run the pick and roll. So as you can see right here, he has the ball top of the key. It's gonna be a simple handoff to Luke Kennard. There's the roll by him, good hard roll, and he gets the ball right here and lays it up and in. That to me is just the prime example of Billy Donovan and his offense with the big man. The big man's a lot of the time is at the top of the key. We saw this so many times with Vucevic, and then how many times have we complained about a guy like Tristan Thompson handling the ball at the top of the key and he can't handle the ball or can't make the right decision, or Tony Bradley at the top of the key not able to make the right decision, right? Hartenstein can just come in and do that perfectly. Again, top of the key right here. How many times we've seen the Bulls do this little action here, little rub screen to come off and hand off to then the point guard and run the pick and roll, right? This is prime Billy Donovan offense and simple pick and roll. And as you see, Hartenstein rolls hard, and there's the alley-oop to him, and he flushes it down. And then even right here, maybe it's not even the top to keep, but maybe it's the high post or pinch post. How many times have we seen Vucevic kind of set up right here, right? So you'll throw it to him at the elbow, and again, a little brush screen right here to get the switch, and he makes the right decision, right? He's patient. He's not scared to make the wrong decision. He's not going too fast, and he's able to just do a simple little handoff to Luke Kennard, who gets a wide open 3-point shot and knocks it down. So that to me automatically just shows that he can fit into this Billy Donovan offense immediately right off the bat. And I love that. I think that's a humongous part of a guy that's going to be a backup center. It keeps the scheme. So it's a good thing that Isaiah Hartenstein's able to be comfortable with the ball out on the perimeter and make the right decisions and also handle the basketball a little bit. I think he actually has some pretty decent handles. Next I want to talk about is his little float shot. And Hartenstein's a lefty, so I think that kind of throws off some of the big men a little bit. But one of the things that he has done, that he has basically made for himself, is this little float shot that he does with his left hand. And I honestly think it's kind of the reason why you don't really see him be that big of a screener. As I kind of showed you in some of those clips earlier, like he doesn't really screen. He's kind of like a little brush screener, more of a slip screener. And, that's something I think Bulls fans are going to not be too happy about. But if it ends up in these types of shots right here, I think it's totally fine. I mean, look, this is not really a screen on Mike Conley. And he gets the ball here, and this is, about 12, 13 feet out. But he is very comfortable shooting over the big man with this little float shot. And this is something that he has really, really perfected. And I think this is perfect for the Bulls, because the Bulls, for some reason, it always kind of seemed like that they are so good either shooting the 3-ball or getting right to the rim, but that mid-range shot, unless it was DeMar DeRozan or, guys that can shoot the floater, they just did not have that. And having a big man that can do this, like how many times have we seen Vucevic kind of shoot that shot and it doesn't go in? Hartenstein can definitely make this shot, and he does a really good job with it. And it's not always off the pick and roll. I mean, this is just him playing the paint very, very well here. As you can see, his man, Rudy Gobert, moved over to guard the strong side, Reggie Jackson. Hartenstein is the weak side and wants to make himself available, because if he stays here in the baseline, he's not available to Jackson here. So he sees Rudy Gobert move. Hartenstein moves over to the free throw line area. As you can see now, Rudy Gobert, there is absolutely no way for Rudy Gobert to basically come back and contest this shot. But just to make sure that he doesn't block it, it's a little float shot, and again, Hartenstein knocks it down. So it's just something that I really, really like to see from a big man, especially in today's game. And Hartenstein, again, it doesn't have to be off the pick and roll. It can be off of, just him playing the weak side and baseline correctly. In this play, all I'm thinking about is that Reggie Jackson, let's pretend he's DeMar DeRozan, right? DeMar DeRozan, posts up smaller guards a decent amount of time. How many times have we seen the big man kind of come over and double him, right? And he draws the double. Hartenstein can play this very, very well. Gobert kind of came over to help, but now he's too far off Hartenstein. And again, little push shot goes in. So just really, really good stuff to see from Hartenstein. Again, I think he just fits in this Bulls offense extremely well. And I would love to see him play alongside DeRozan and Levine, because I think he'd be a perfect role man for those guys. Or specifically Ayo Dosunmu. I think Ayo Dosunmu, because I think Dosunmu is going to be running that second unit at the PG position. I think it's perfect. I think he's a perfect guy to run the pick and roll with. So let's just, because I know people are going to freak out about this, I'm going to show some defensive highlights. I'm not going to say Hartenstein is like an amazing defender, right? He's not a Mitchell Robinson when protecting the rim. And I also don't think he's a Nick Claxton when it comes to being able to switch and being versatile and being able to really go out and defend multiple positions. But I do think he moves his feet pretty well. And this is something that we definitely need because we know that Vucevic doesn't move his feet very well. And you pair him alongside some really good defensive guards that we have, I think Hartenstein will be just fine on defense. And I talked about his blocks already. But this is an in-transition type play. He does a really good job here of just getting back and just clogging up the lane, which is what a big man is supposed to do, right? And you see right here, he's already in help position to take this roll away from Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes goes up for the shot, misses. So, maybe it's not blocking the shot, but he does a good job of contesting the shot and changing the shot. And then he gets the rebounds and we're off to the races. So just a little glimpse of him with the help defense. And him not blocking a shot, but basically changing a shot. And then this is something I think all Bulls fans are all always worried about. It's the simple pick and roll. Like, how will Hartenstein guard the pick and roll? And it's this right here. He's guarding Valanciunas, and this is a drop that we all know the Bulls play. And right here, I think he does a really good job of, one, getting big. Like, he basically makes sure that Brandon Ingram isn't going to drive right past him. But number two, he moves his feet really well and well enough to make sure that he takes the roll away from Valanciunas. As you can see right here, he recovers, gets a little deflection, gets the steal, and he gets the ball, saves it, and we're off to the races again. That's good. That's really, really solid. Again, it's not top tier. He's not a Rudy Gobert, but that's pretty solid defense for a guy that's only going to be playing 18 minutes a game. Again, pick and roll, and now instead of guarding a wing, you're now guarding the point guard in the pick and roll here. So, excuse me, that's actually not the play here. So here goes CJ McCollum as the PG. Again, pick and roll. And Jackson Hayes is now the roller this time, and you see here, he stays with Jackson Hayes pretty well. But the other thing is that he stayed big to allow the guard to come over the screen and pick up CJ McCollum, moved back at the right time, takes away the roll from Jackson Hayes, boxes him out, and there's the rebound. So, again, he's not a top tier, right? But he, I think, is definitely very, very average, or maybe even above average when it comes to guarding the pick and roll. He's definitely going to bring more rim protection to this team, as I talked about earlier. But when it comes to guarding the pick and roll, I already going to say he's better than Vucevic as the big man guarding the pick and roll, which is a good thing, right? And last but not least, just to end this video, I want to explain why I think it's going to be very simple for this Bulls team to go after Hartenstein and get him. And we're going to start off by talking about this. John Wall has been released from the Houston Rockets on a buyout deal, and he's planning to sign with the Los Angeles Clippers. And from what I've been hearing at the very least, and at least what a lot of people are talking about, is that John Wall is going to go and sign the taxpayer mid-level exception with the Clippers, which is about $6 million, and he's going to be a Clipper for next season. But what this does is that it basically forces the Clippers to not be able to sign Isaiah Hartenstein. They have no way to bring back Isaiah Hartenstein. Keith Smith, a guy that is very good with the cap and talk about all GM moves on Twitter, go ahead and follow him, has basically kind of said that like this move by John Wall going to the Clippers, like it basically is like the Clippers are acting as if they're not going to keep Hartenstein. Like there is no way to keep him. They're going to probably go trade for a big man using a traded player exception. So let's talk about why Hartenstein is available. And as you can see right here, Isaiah Hartenstein, his cap hold is very, very small. He's already going to be asking for much more than the minimum this offseason. So this cap hold, unfortunately for the Clippers, means nothing. There's no way that they're going to be able to re-sign him to this cap hold because he's going to be definitely asking for $5 million, probably more than that, right? And the thing is this, as you can see right here, the rights, the Clippers don't have his bird rights. Isaiah Hartenstein actually signed with the Clippers on an Exhibit 9 deal, which is a non-guaranteed deal, 1-year minimum contract. And that means that the Clippers do not have his bird rights. And the only way for the Clippers to actually re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein, and that is not the minimum contract, was that taxpayer mid-level exception that we're talking about that John Wall is about to sign. Therefore, the Clippers, there is basically no way for the Clippers to keep Isaiah Hartenstein unless he's willing to sign for the minimum, which I don't expect him to do, because this is his first time he's going to get an actual payday, and I expect him to take it. So again, talk about taxpayer mid-level exception. This is gone for the Clippers. The Clippers do not have this because they're using this to sign John Wall. And because of that, this is the reason why I think the Bulls are in a prime position to go after him. Because the incumbent team for Isaiah Hartenstein, aka the Clippers, they have literally no way of keeping him. And not only that, there is no way to sign and trade Isaiah Hartenstein to the Bulls so the Clippers get something back, because they do not have the cap space, they do not have his bird rights, and they don't have the taxpayer mid-level exception to use to re-sign him at all. So, in my opinion, this is, I think, the best option for the Bulls when it comes to the backup big man. I mean, we could talk about Mitchell Robinson, we could talk about, Nick Claxton, or even Mo Bamba. These are names that Bulls fans are throwing out there, but I think Mitchell Robinson's going back to the Knicks because they have his bird rights. Nick Claxton's a restricted free agent. That means the Nets have full control over him. Mo Bamba, same thing, restricted free agent, and I'm not willing to pay Mo Bamba $10 million. I think Isaiah Hartenstein for $8 million, maybe it's the full mid-level exception, not only is a really good idea for the Bulls, and he fits well, but I also just don't see that there is literally no way for the Clippers to even match that offer and try to retain him at all. That's the reason why I think this is a very smart and strategic decision for the Bulls to go after Isaiah Hartenstein, and I think he will definitely be a target for this Bulls this upcoming offseason. So I look forward to free agency, and I really do hope that we see Isaiah Hartenstein on this Bulls team, because I think he can come in and play that backup center, bring a different look defensively for this team, even offensively. He's a role man. He brings a little different scheme to this Bulls offense, but I even showed you in these clips, he fits right into this Bulls offense, right? He fits in as the top of the key big man making decisions with the basketball, and I think that's perfect for this Bulls team as the backup big man, and potentially, I mean, even starting center for this team later down the road. The mid-level exception, which we have, which is the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, is this much money. Ideally, I don't want to spend all this on Isaiah Hartenstein, but if that's what it's going to take due to his potential other teams trying to get after him, I'm willing to pay it. Has to be 3 years or longer, and I think this is a pretty decent contract, especially if he's projected to be a starting center for this team in the future. Now, I don't know how legit that is. I think he might just be a backup big man and a very solid backup big man, but ideally you sign him for 3 or 4 seasons so you don't have to worry about the backup big man position from here on out. But I would like to try to keep a little bit of that mid-level exception. Maybe we sign him to an $8 million annually contract, so we have a little bit of mid-level exception left over to kind of go out and get a guy and pay him a little bit extra than the minimum contract. So that's just my thoughts on a potential contract for him, but in the end, I would love to see this man right here being the backup center for the Chicago Bulls next season. So that's all I have for you guys in this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.